Thanks, Gloria. I'm Randy Hansen. In today's World News headlines, Obama to meet with labor and CEOs on fiscal cliff. And top U.S. commander in Afghanistan tied to Petraeus scandal. And Carrie-Ann Rice among rumored contenders for new Obama cabinet. And U.S. set to plan post-2014 troop deployment in Afghanistan. And a report says first 10 months of 2012 warmest in U.S. history. And the IEA, U.S. set to become world's biggest oil producer. And Syrian attacks on border town fuel refugee flight to Turkey. And rejecting ceasefire, Israel launches new attacks on Gaza Strip. An Israeli group warns of major settlement expansion in the West Bank. And U.S. elected in new term on UN Human Rights Council. And Congress holds hearings on steroid-linked meningitis outbreak. An Occupy Tide Rolling Jubilee campaign raises $100,000 to cancel debt. And Kirsten Sinema becomes first bisexual person elected to Congress. But before these stories, GVTV News would like to thank one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us. GVTV News. In today's first world news story, President Obama is holding the first of a series of meetings at the White House on averting the so-called fiscal cliff of expiring tax cuts and automatic spending reductions set to take effect at the end of the year. Under the terms of last year's debt deal, Obama and the Senate Democrats must agree on a deficit reduction package with House Republicans or face automatic cuts that will likely contract the economy. Labor groups, including the heads of the AFL-CIO and the SEIU, will sit down with Obama following corporate CEOs on Wednesday. The president has vowed to resist Republican calls for extended tax cuts to the wealthiest Americans, but has signaled he may compromise on reducing so-called entitlements such as Medicare and Social Security. Speaking on MSNBC, our favorite channel, Independent Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont said 2012 elections signaled a rejection of the Republican agenda. And he said, the middle class of this country and working people, and that's what this election was about, say, yeah, we've got to do deficit reduction, but don't cut Social Security, don't cut Medicare, don't cut Medicaid. There were ways to move towards a balanced budget, which is our fare. I think Mr. Boehner has got to understand they lost and let wishes of the majority of the people in the country prevail. Bernie Sanders is the only socialist that I know of that says that. Scandal that brought down CIA Director David Petraeus is now ensnaring General John Allen, top U.S. commander in Afghanistan. Pentagon says FBI between Allen and Jill Kelly, the woman who complained of harassment from Petraeus' lover, Paula Bradwell. Kelly's complaint to the FBI led to the discovery of Bradwell and Petraeus' relationship, prompting Petraeus' resignation on Friday. Allen succeeded Petraeus in Afghanistan last year. Pentagon says Allen will remain U.S. commander in Afghanistan for now, but the plans to nominate him to become NATO's Supreme Allied Commander are on hold, pending the outcome of the investigation. On Monday night, FBI agents continued their probe by searching Bradwell's North Carolina home. See that. I don't see anything about Benghazi around here. I don't know what's going on. As the Obama administration faces turmoil with two top military leaders, reports are continuing to emerge with the potential makeup of its second-term cabinet. According to Washington Post, Massachusetts Senator and former presidential candidate John Kerry has emerged as a potential candidate to become the next Secretary of Defense. A decade veteran of Vietnam War, Kerry became known in the 70s when he returned from Vietnam to call for a U.S. withdrawal. The current U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Susan Rice, is rumored to be the top candidate to replace Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State. Rice, Monday, and she said, "I love my job here in the United Nations. I always have, I always will, especially today, and I look forward to continuing to serve for as long as President Obama would like me to." The Obama administration has announced it will likely decide in the coming weeks on the role of U.S. troops in Afghanistan after a scheduled withdrawal in 2014. On Monday, Defense Secretary Leon Panetta said, although the majority of U.S. forces will return home, an unspecified number could stay behind to continue military operations. New government data shows the year-to-date period from January to October was the warmest ever recorded for the contiguous United States. According to the National Climatic Data Center, the national temperatures was 3.4 degrees Fahrenheit higher than the 20th century average and more than 1 degree higher than the previous record for the first 10 months of the year. October's cooler temperatures ended a streak of 16 consecutive warmer than average months, but this year is still on pace to become the warmest ever recorded. Latest report follows a number of global warming benchmarks, including the warmest consecutive 12-month period, which ended in July. So I guess we're falling into the sun. The United States is poised to become the biggest oil producer in the world within the next decade. Paris-based International Energy Agency says the United States will surpass Saudi Arabia's oil production by around 2020 with the aid of controversial extraction techniques such as fracking and horizontal drilling. Much of the oil in question is tightly concealed in rock formations that may be blasted with chemical-laden fluid and drilled into horizontally as part of the extraction process. Critics have raised concerns about how such forms of drilling will impact human health and environment. President Obama, however, renewed his commitment to freeing ourselves from foreign oil. In his re-election victory speech last week, Energy Department data shows U.S. imports of crude have fallen 11% this year, and the country is on track to produce the most oil since 1991. The Syrian military continues to launch attacks on border town of Ras Al Ain, sending hundreds of civilians fleeing to neighboring Turkey. The new bombings came days after more than 11,000 Syrian civilians were forced out during the strikes last week, one of the largest refugee flights of the Syrian conflict to date. Speaking in Geneva, the head of the Disaster and Crisis Management at the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies warned Turkey needs major aid to handle the growing number of Syrian refugees. Simon Eccleshall said, "We've seen a doubling of camp populations since July 2012, and I think as you've seen over the last few days, there's been an increase in the number of Syrians moving into Turkey. They now recognize that the situation is becoming prolonged. The initial thoughts that the population might be displaced for a shorter amount of time are now being reassessed." And the government of Turkey, along with its partners, are planning for a contingency of a long-term assistance program. Meanwhile, we just seem to be watching. Israel has launched new attacks on the Gaza Strip following Palestinian calls for a ceasefire to end days of violence. Israel struck an uninhabited area of Gaza 3 times overnight, hours after Palestinian groups announced they would halt rocket fire on southern Israel if the Israeli military ceased the bombing. Israeli officials have threatened to escalate military action in Gaza, raising fears of the worst violence since Israel invaded Gaza 4 years ago next month. On Monday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel is free to use military force on Gaza. And he said, "For the rights of our people to defend themselves, we'll take whatever action is necessary to put a stop to this. It's not merely our right, it's also our duty." So if they don't want to be attacked, they shouldn't be lobbing rockets. Amidst fears of violence escalating in Gaza, the Israeli group Peace Now is warning the major Israeli settlement expansion in the West Bank. According to Peace Now, the settlement of Itamar will be expanded fivefold to 675 homes. News comes 1 week after Israel announced the construction of more than 1,200 new settler homes in East Jerusalem. As Israelis continue to build settlements, the United States is intensifying efforts to stop the Palestinian effort to non-member state recognition at the United Nations. The White House says President Obama called Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas on Sunday in a bid to convince Abbas to delay the move. The United States has been elected to a new term in the UN Human Rights Council, winning another 3 years. The Obama administration has played an active role at the council after the Bush administration refused to take part. On Monday, UN Ambassador Susan Rice said the United States is determined to reform the council, saying it is too biased against Israel. And she said the United States is clearly of the view that the Human Rights Council has its flaws, and I've just enumerated a couple of them, including its excessive focus on Israel. But it is also a body that is increasingly proving its value. We've been proud to contribute to some of what we think are the finer moments of Human Rights Council. Its approach to Syria, its approach to Sudan, its approach to the situation in Libya with the Commission of Inquiry. UN Human Rights Council vote comes just as the United Nations General Assembly is set to approve an annual measure calling for an end to the U.S. embargo on Cuba. So get ready for cigars. House is holding hearings today into meningitis outbreak linked to steroid injections that have caused 32 deaths and hundreds of illnesses across the United States. In a new report, House Energy Committee says the chief pharmacist at New England Compounding Center, the company behind the injections, stonewalled and even lied to regulators who had sought to force changes for a number of years. In an offshoot of Occupy Wall Street, holding a telethon. Hey, what happened to Occupy Wall Street anyway? Is holding a telethon this week for its campaign to purchase the debt of struggling U.S. households, according to the website's group. RollingJubilee.org has already raised more than $100,000 towards the effort to buy up consumer debt at random, often for pennies on the dollar, and then cancel it so that the borrowers do not have to repay. A sold-out benefit concert is scheduled for Thursday in New York City. Well, $100,000, that'd almost buy the porch on a house in New York. Arizona Democrat Kristen Sinema has become the first openly bisexual person elected to the U.S. Congress. Recent ballot counts show the former state senator has defeated Republican competitor Vernon Parker in a new Phoenix area congressional district. Sinema's election comes in a year where also saw 5 openly gay Democrats elected to the House, while Wisconsin Representative Tammy Baldwin became the first openly gay person elected to the Senate. Other firsts this year include the election of the Hindu Congress member Hawaii's Tulsi Gabbard, who, along with Tammy Duckworth of Illinois, is also one of the first female combat veterans elected to Congress. And that's it for World News today. Now I would like to thank one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, GVTV News. Christopher's Old World Deli and Catering Company has brought its delicious food and service downtown Grass Valley. You like desserts? They got 'em. You like international style lunches? They got 'em. Christopher's Deli and Catering for parties, get-togethers, weddings, or whatever. Open 7 days a week. Bellstar Shop is a one-of-a-kind place you will find on the Ridge. Steaming hot coffee and a cool atmosphere with healthy food, organic desserts, and meals available. Belle and her smile will not be forgotten the first time you visit. That's right, it's time for the police blotter, and pictures in the blotter are not from these actual events but used for visual aid only. These records are provided by local law enforcement from public records. Grass Valley Police Department on Friday, 9:17 a.m. A woman from Colfax and Ophir Street reported that a man took her vehicle keys and took her son. The situation was resolved. At 9:37 a.m. a report was taken from 100 block of West Empire Street of the theft of a wallet by a man who was cited on suspicion of shoplifting and petty theft. At 12:02 p.m. a report was taken 200 block of West Main Street of theft of a guitar, November 2nd. At 1:40 p.m. a man from the 800 block of Sutton Way reported a person using his credit card without his permission. At 1:48 p.m. a report was taken 1900 block of Nevada City Highway of transients scaring people, rattling change machines, and digging through dumpsters. At 2:37 p.m. a report was taken 200 block of Sierra College Drive of a theft of a jacket. At 4:13 p.m. a woman from the 200 block of Hill Street reported the theft of jewelry. At 4:28 p.m. a woman from 300 block of Bennett Street reported a man had been breaking into her house and vehicle. At 5:21 p.m. a report was taken 100 block of West McKnight Way of a man with his pants around his ankles, fondling himself. He was arrested on suspicion of being under the influence of a controlled substance, possessing controlled substance, and drug paraphernalia, resisting arrest, and battery on a peace officer. He was being held in lieu of a $13,750 bail. 8:52 p.m. a report was taken from Park Avenue and South Auburn Street of a man howling at the moon. At 8:59 p.m. a woman from 200 block of Bank Street reported a man pushed her against the wall and had a knife on her son. She got the baby back. She called again at 10:41 p.m. to report the dispute was possibly becoming violent. And Saturday, 1:59 a.m. a report was taken from 300 block of Mill Street of two men and two women squatting in a residence. I guess they didn't have any chairs. 2:19 a.m. a report was taken from Kidder Avenue and East Maryland Drive of a vehicle that ran into a tree. Woman was arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence. A second person was arrested on unknown charges. 9:18 a.m. a man from 200 block of Jorski Drive reported that he was God, but was not violent. 12:08 p.m. a report was taken from 100 block of Neal Street of a man possibly stalking an employee. And 2:10 p.m. a report was taken from 100 block of Success Mine Loop of a vehicle break-in with registration and other items stolen. At 3:24 p.m. a report was taken from Nevada City Highway and Brunswick Road of the theft of keys to a rental vehicle with the suspect leaving in the vehicle. At 5:47 p.m. a report was taken from 200 block of West Main Street of an assault. The victim was taken to the hospital. At 6:18 p.m. a woman from 600 block of Freeman Lane reported theft of a wallet. In Nevada County Sheriff's Office on Friday, 9:33 a.m. a report was taken from 15,000 block of Lorry Drive of an attempted burglary of a residence. 11:19 a.m. a report was taken from 11,000 block of Red Dog Road of a woman screaming about being outside. She reportedly was stuck in a shed. She was extricated. 11:40 a.m. a report was taken from Bear River High School of a juvenile with marijuana who was cited. At 11:59 a.m. a report was taken from 11,000 block of Spenceville Road of an assault at a school. At 1:15 p.m. a woman from 31,000 block of Relief Hill Road reported a man kicked in a door. He could not be located. At 1:29 p.m. a report was taken from business in 11,000 block of Pleasant Valley Road of a man making suicidal comments and gestures. He was transported to the hospital for a mental health evaluation. At 1:44 p.m. a report was taken from 10,000 block of Bell Road of a dog vs. dog incident. At 2:03 p.m. a report was taken from 10,000 block of Virgil Court of fraud. At 2:30 p.m. a report was taken from 11,000 block of Wilson Road of possible computer fraud. At 3:04 p.m. a report was taken from 24,000 block of Highway 49 of a juvenile assault. A juvenile was cited. 3:21 p.m. a report was taken from 14,000 block of Talking Pines Road of a burglary. And 3:30 p.m. a woman from 15,000 block of Orchard Springs Road reported her husband pushed her to the ground. She was not injured. And 4:03 p.m. a report was taken from Ridge Estates Road of a truck that had been broken into and items stolen. And 7:46 p.m. a report was taken from 18,000 block of Billadu Lane of theft of jewelry. And 9:57 p.m. a report was taken from Bannermine Way of aerial fireworks. And Saturday, 1:24 a.m. a report was taken from Highway 49 and Cement Hill Road of a large group of people in a physical fight. No one was located. At 9:19 a.m. a woman from the 10,000 block of Matthew Lane reported an assault a week ago. 11:28 a.m. a report was taken from Ponderosa Drive finding a dumped and burned horse carcass. 11:37 a.m. a report was taken from 18,000 block of Chukar Way of vandalism, possibly petty theft, at a residence. 1:37 p.m. a woman from 11,000 block of Lodestar Drive reported multiple lottery scam calls. And 2:51 p.m. a woman from 14,000 block of Mountain House Road reported dogs harassing her livestock. 2:55 p.m. a report was taken from 12,000 block of Gold Trout Way of a buck with a chain around its antlers. It could not be located. And 4:29 p.m. a report was taken from Murphy and Tyler Foot Crossing Roads of a person possibly setting off dynamite. 5:09 p.m. a report was taken from 17,000 block of North Cherry Creek Road of ex-tenants pouring Drano all over the property. The situation was mediated. 11:01 p.m. a woman from 26,000 block of Table Meadow Road reported a person broke out a vehicle window with a tire iron. Woman was arrested on suspicion of possessing drug paraphernalia. At 12:14 a.m. a person from the address sought treatment for an assault but did not want charges. And Sunday, 12:39 a.m. a woman from the 16,000 block at David Way reported a man pounding on a door who eventually left. In Nevada City Police Department on Friday, 3:19 p.m. a report was taken 500 block of Cyril's Avenue of items missing from a vehicle at a business. And 5:23 p.m. a report was taken 400 block of Nimrod Street of trespassers in the pool area. And that's it for the Police Blotter today. Now we'd like to thank another one of our underwriters who support your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, GVTV News. A little shout out to Wayne's World.
Soundcheck Music Center, the Rock and Roll Connection. We have guitars, amps, drum equipment, sound accessories, lessons, and repairs. We are located at 671 Maltman Drive, Grass Valley. 530-272-7236, open 7 days a week.
In local news headlines, John Trudell speaking at St. Joseph this weekend. Today's first local story, John Trudell is back in town, and if you haven't heard or seen or listened to him, then you don't want to miss this. The Chai Akum Maidu invite all to attend their autumn fundraising gathering at St. Joseph Center, located at 410 South Church Street in Grass Valley, November 18th, that's Sunday, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. It's donation of $25 per person, with dinner included features John Trudell as guest speaker. Music with Good Shield and Mignon Gelly, or Jelly, I'm not sure, I think it's Gelly, and the Maidu Theater Group, Wiya Wiwi Yiwa. More information, just call 274-7497, 274-7497. They want you to bring your own utensils for eating. We will be there covering this event and hope you see you there. If you want to hear John's band, the Tribe at the number above also has DVDs from his last appearance at the Veterans Hall a couple months ago, so you can call him and ask him about that. Or show up at the event, there should be some there. Be there or be square. That's it for local news today. Now we'd like to thank the Union, Amy Goodman, Reuters, Associated Press, and others for the sourcing of our news, and you for watching. You can broadcast Watch this broadcast on Comcast Cable's NCTV Channel 11 in Nevada County, 8 a.m., 3 p.m., 7:30 p.m., Monday through Friday. Suddenlink Channel 16 in Truckee and Alta Sierra at 10:30 Saturday morning and 8 o'clock Sunday night. We also are streamed on internet, NCTV's digital media website at nevadacountytv.org and gvtv.org. And don't forget, Grass Valley Television plays 24/7 on the net, grassvalleytelevision.com. Have a good weekend.